Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for taking the time to participate in our career fair.
You bet.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you a few questions about
Okay.
your career and what you do. Uh, can you give us a short description of like your job?
My job title is events director for the city of Greenbrier. Um, but the job encompasses a whole lot more than that. So basically, a short description would be I'm the director of the event center, which is kind of like our community center in Greenbrier. And we do events out of there as well. But any event that's done in the city or also handle pretty much public relations and any kind of communications, grant writing, all of that for the city. So it's sort of like events and communications director and event center director is sort of more what I do.
Okay. What degree would a student seek if he was going into this like profession or job or?
That is a really good question. My degree is actually in landscape architecture, and I was a park planner for 10 plus years. So the planning, you can carry skills over from many professions to do what I do, but I would say something in communications or maybe even Parks and Rec administration, even just business. Any of those, a bachelor's degree I think was required or preferred when I applied for the job. But the job description that was listed, it's kind of changed. Because I brought a little bit different skill set to the job than what someone with maybe a business degree might. I brought a little different skill set because I had some grant writing experience already.
What would you recommend, or what classes would you recommend a high school student take in school to, for that
Oh, well,
profession?
if that's a really good question. If you're looking to do exactly what I do, I would say oral communications for sure. That's just good. You really have to communicate with a lot of people, customers, coworkers, employees, people like mayors, people in administration, business owners. So anything in oral communications, public relations, writing, technical writing, and creative writing even. I'm not really sure. Y'all have so many more courses than were there when I was in school. So I don't really know what all you have to offer there, but and anything, just basic business skills are good. And I don't know if you have anything, in kind of administrative or programming, like recreation programming. We don't do as much programming at the center as I would like to do. But that would be helpful too. I think that's something we really need, in Greenbrier, some more programming for different age groups, especially young kids.
What skills or personality traits would be beneficial for the job?
Personality traits, I think working well with others and just, good natural customer service skills, being able to, diffuse situations that can be tense. So I think just interpersonal skills are really, really important. That's probably the most important, being able to connect with people and I think, and able to just kind of step back from maybe situations that could be, to diffuse situations, be able to step back and see what's really going on, just kind of be able to calm people down. I think just interpersonal skills is probably the top, and communication, interpersonal and communication skills are probably the top. And of course you've got to be honest and, all those things that any employer is looking for. You've got to have integrity and all those wonderful qualities.
If a student was seeking employment in this field, are there any additional comments or advice you would like to give?
Well, I would say that I've worked in city government, municipal government my whole career, and I graduated from college in '95. And I would say that there's always, you've got a job description, and then there's always this line that says other duties as required. And very rarely does any job that I've had, very rarely is there a job that fits really neatly in that job description. Especially, if you're someone who likes to take on challenges and there's things you're passionate about that you want to do. Fortunately, in this position, I've kind of had the freedom to take on other things and take on projects that are really outside of my what do you call it, wheelhouse. I think that's a buzzword these days. Anyway, I think keep your options open. Don't go into any job with the mindset that this is exactly what I'm going to do, because it may be, but very rarely is that the case. You're going to have to be stretched. You're going to be flexible. You're going to be asked to do things that maybe are outside your comfort zone, or that are maybe, you just keep your options open, be flexible, be open-minded, and look for ways to make yourself, I hate to say indispensable, because nobody really is, but look for ways to really use your talents and your skills and your strengths to benefit the organization you're working for, the business you're working for. And if you like what you do and you like your job and you're passionate about the company or the business or the organization, you're probably going to do those things naturally. But I would say don't ever go into a job thinking you know what you're going to be doing, because that's probably going to change. So just keep an open mind and an open attitude, and just and try to learn. I've learned something from every single encounter, positive and negative, and there are always going to be conflicts, and there are going to be negative situations you have to deal with, and that was really hard for me, because I am very much I'm very passive, I'm very non-confrontational, and in my position, you can't always be non-confrontational. You have to enforce rules. You have to deal sometimes with parents who don't like that you've had to get onto their children. And you have to deal with some really tense situations sometimes. And I had to get over the whole, it'll stretch you personally if you're in a position where you have to enforce rules. I think I expected to do grant writing when I came into the job. Definitely wasn't part of the job description, but I expected to do that, because I knew working for a public agency, if you wanted to do anything extra, if you want to do any programs or getting extra funding for equipment, that I would have to write grants, because I had been part of municipal government before, and that's how you get money when you don't have it in your budget. So I expected to do that, and I actually enjoy grant writing very much. The social media thing is something that became big after I came into this job. And so that was something new, and that I kind of learned personally on my own, but that's something I still have to learn every day. I'm growing in every day, the social media, the public relations, dealing with it. And in the public relations and social media, sometimes you have to there's a lot of misinformation that happens in social media, as you know. Not everything out there's true, and people can post whatever they like. And sometimes they post things and they don't understand what's really going on behind the scenes, what's going on in the government. And a lot of people are really distrustful. And so as I'm the administrator for all the Facebook and, for all of the city departments, not just my own department. So if someone's unhappy about their water bill, for instance, which happens a lot, then, I have kind of a responsibility to go and research and find out, okay, so what's going on with the water bills? And then I try to come back and provide correct information in a very neutral manner, that's facts, very factual, and not emotional, take all emotion out of it. So being able to present those facts in a way that is clear, that everybody can understand, that hopefully dispels the rumors and the misinformation and the distrust, and getting people to trust city government. There's not a soul that I know at city that works for the city that doesn't care immensely about our town and doesn't care, they're not there to take advantage of anyone, and no one gets bonuses based on what their water bill is. I mean, there's no incentive for anyone to overcharge anybody. We get paid the same no matter what. So I mean, it's sort of, but I think a lot that they say, oh, there's just a lot of misinformation, and having to kind of head that off. Sometimes you try to get ahead of it and sometimes you can't. And so fighting that battle on social media, and it does feel like a battle sometimes, that's probably the most frustrating thing for me. And that's something I didn't really expect. I came from a much larger city where I worked and there was a lot of distrust for the government, a lot of distrust. And there was there were, probably 1,000 employees in that city. And so it was really, I came to the small town, and my first public meeting that we did before we opened the center was so positive. Everyone was so supportive and positive. And I thought, oh, wow, I've come to to Mayberry, everybody, well, maybe not Mayberry, but everybody's so supportive of everything in Greenbrier. I was seeing, but as we've grown, that's changed. People have, there are people who aren't, maybe I just know more people now. I don't know, but I think that was the thing that probably surprised me the most, was that just the information you have to put out there to keep people from being so negative on Facebook and distrustful, and building that trust with a town. And then really there's no reason for anyone not to trust the city. I mean, there's every audit, knock on wood, but all of our audits have come back really, positive, no findings. I mean, there's not been any evidence, no scandals or anything like that ever that I know of in Greenbrier. And I've worked for the city for 15 years. And so just the fact that people come in with that kind of attitude of distrust when there's no factual basis for that at all.
Okay, so can you talk about the average salary range for your position?
Sure. I think in Arkansas, and things have changed since I started, but I think in Arkansas for a beginning at a beginning level, I would expect to start around 38 or 42 maybe, and go on up to maybe 55. As you get experience or whatever. And I think that would be for a community center director. Now this is based on what I've seen and where I started. But I think also, so for a communications director, communications and events director, which is kind of more what I do, it's really considerably more for that. I would think that would start around 50 and go up to, 50 to 55, maybe, but might be the starting range, and I'd go on up to, the range online on Google and on some of those ZipRecruiter sites, they, depending on where you are in the country, that can go way, way up, and depending on the size of the organization. So depending on the size of for a community center director, but depending on the size of the town and the tax base, that's really going to determine more about the salary and the size of the facility and, and the responsibilities that go with it. So I would expect to start around, just depending on where you are in Arkansas, because Northwest Arkansas, you'd make a whole lot more working at a community center up there, because it's probably going to be a much bigger center. So, it depends on location, but I would say you could expect a minimum of like 38 starting for a small town like Greenbrier, but yeah, maybe even more than that.
Okay. In your opinion, what do you think the best part is about your job?
Oh, wow. I'm a connector. I kind of have different strengths and went through a retreat, where you kind of evaluate what you're good at. And I'm a connector. That's kind of my category. So, and I'm a dreamer. So the thing that I love most is collaborating with other people and working with other people, working with the community directly. And also working with other, business owners and, or business people, different people in the community that want to come together and work toward, a project or a good cause. A few years ago, we were doing some events at the event center, and I kept referring to Brierfest. And so some of the vendors we had there, one of the vendors we had there was like, well, what's Brierfest? Why don't we just do Brierfest? And I'm like, we hadn't done Brierfest, since, well, I remembered when I was your age, we had Brierfest. And so we got a big group of people together and started planning Brierfest again. And that was so much fun. That was just the coolest thing, to be able to come together, because it's for scholarships. I mean, that's the goal, is to raise money for scholarships. It wasn't going in any of our pockets. It was just something good for the community, and to kind of create some excitement in our town and bring people together, and maybe, hopefully even bring some people into our town that wouldn't normally come, some tourism type things. So I love those public events. I love planning those. We recently did Boo Briar, and we made it a drive-through event where all the kids got to come through. And that is probably my favorite event of all, because we can dress up and we give out candy, and it's just a really good, fun, we have music, it's great. So I love the events where the community comes together and working with other people and collaborating to plan those and put those on. That's where I find most of my satisfaction. But I have to tell you that I have the best staff in the whole world. I mean, they are amazing. They are able to handle 99% of everything that goes on at the center. They handle it, and so I'm able to spend more time because they're so self-sufficient and they're so good at what they do, the customer service and everything that they do on a day-to-day basis. That allows me to work on these more of these community type events and projects. So you've got to surround yourself with really great people, not people just like you though. You can't surround yourself with people that are like you, because there are things that I'm not good at, that I need other people that are good at that to be around me and bring that to the table and fill in those gaps where I may be weak, they're strong. So one thing that I would say, anybody who's going to be in a position where they're hired employees, and one thing that I'm advising this, but I haven't actually done this myself, but personality tests and finding your strengths and weaknesses, I think that's a really good a good tool to use to know where your gaps are and what you need to surround yourself with, the people you need to bring into your company or your organization or your circle, to kind of help you. And I think that would be a good thing to do, to have as a tool, to evaluate people you're thinking about hiring or bringing on board, so that you don't really miss anything. If you can fill in all those gaps. There's lots of books out there on this topic, and who you need on your team and all those things. So I think surrounding yourself with the right people, making sure you hire the right people. I have a no drama. We have no drama in our workplace. Don't like drama. If people aren't getting along and there's drama, it just creates all kinds of problems. So that's kind of that helps too. If you can hire people who don't want to bring their personal drama in. And so yeah, don't go there. But anyway, yeah, surrounding yourself with the right people. And if you're planning a community project, you really want people from all aspects of the community. And the more diverse it can be, the better, in every way. So yeah, that's the thing I love, working with other people, connecting.
Okay, well, I think that's all the questions that we have. Thank you for doing this. We really appreciate
Miss
it.
Shellie, so for our virtual fair, we may trim this down a little bit,
Yes.
just because, I just
Please
think
do.
the kids are going to appreciate a smaller video to watch. So
Yeah,
or shorter
absolutely.
video.
Feel free.
Okay, so, and we'll send you the copy before we post to let you take a look at it. And if you want any changes, we'll be glad to do that. Okay.
Okay. Good deal.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Shellie.
You're welcome. Hey, good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, you got my name there, right?